I just wanted to share something with you, that winning isn't normal. There's nothing normal about winning, because most people don't win big at anything, whether it's athletics or business or whatever. So it's not normal. This doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with winning. It's just isn't normal. It's highly unusual for people to win big. Have you noticed that? Most people are average and ordinary, and they live in obscurity. That's the majority of people in our country. Every competition has only one winner. No matter how many people entered, only one person or team wins the championship. That's the way it is. Winning is unusual. It requires unusual action. You can't do the normal things and expect to do historical things. In order to win, you must do extraordinary things. You cannot just be one of the crowd. The crowd doesn't win. You have to be willing to stand out and act differently. I know a lot of people are not interested in doing Primerica because they're embarrassed about it. I think there's probably people in here who are embarrassed that they're involved in Primerica, and they're not willing to get out there and share their story and share the story with everybody. If I had to do it over again, I was great at prospecting. I was great at recruiting. I would have done so much more of it. There's no shortage of people that are looking for you, but you've got to be looking for them. Your actions need to reflect. Your actions need to reflect unusual values and priorities. You have to value success more than others do. You have to want it more. Wanting it more is a decision you make and act upon, not some inherent quality or burning inner drive or inspiration. You have to make that value a priority. You cannot talk like everyone else. You cannot think like everyone else. You cannot be willing to join the crowd, to do what's expected, to act in a socially acceptable manner, to do what is in. You need to be willing to stand out in the crowd and consistently take exceptional action. If you want to win, you need to accept the risk and perhaps the loneliness, because winning isn't normal. People aren't going to understand you. I know even for me, when I started building something, my family was like, said, Hector, you just work too much. You're never around anymore. You're just working all the time. They didn't, and I couldn't get them to understand what I was trying to do, the kind of life I was trying to build for me and my family. So I just stopped listening to that. I didn't listen to that. Being exceptional at something, being great at something requires you to step out from the crowd, to not be normal. So let me just tell you so that you know that I kind of have a clue about what I'm talking about. Here are my rolling 12 numbers. 60,000 recruits in the last 12 months. $62 million in premium in the last 12 months. $582 million in total securities volume. In the hierarchy, we currently have 5,400,847,000 in a hierarchy in assets under management. Do you know how much money that puts off? If you're not doing securities, I don't know what to tell you. My securities cash flow in the last 12 months is just shy of $1.2 million. That's $100,000 a month in securities cash flow. Okay? So if you're not doing securities and you're building a hierarchy, you see what you're leaving behind? I don't understand how you could not understand that. Rolling 12 cash flow, $3.3 million. Career crash, $94 million. Okay? Thank God for Primerica. You're in a business right now that can allow you to dramatically change your family, dramatically change it for the better, like some of you are doing right now. So, I just wanted you to know that I actually do know a little bit about what I'm talking about today, okay? So, my story is this, look, one thing is you got to know exactly what you want. You got to be crystal clear and have it be something that connects with you emotionally, so that when things get tough, you'll know that you're going to keep fighting for it. So you've got to know exactly what do you want out of this enterprise, with this opportunity you have at your fingertips. Obviously, you know by the numbers I just shared with you what the potential is, and it's much greater than that. It's much, much greater than that. You need to stop worrying about what other people think. One of the things that changed my life, I grew up in a Mexican Catholic family where my parents and everybody in my family cared way too much what everybody thought about them. Way too much. And I used to be like that, and I got to a point as an adult that I said, you know what? Nobody's making my car payments, my house payments, taking care of my family. I am not going to worry about what anybody thinks about me anymore, period. And you need to stop worrying about what people think about you. And you need to go build something great for you and your family. You need to develop skills and knowledge. Look, you can't just come in here and be excited. You have to develop skills and knowledge in order to attract the right kind of people and build something significant that lasts and that continues to grow even when you're not engaged at the same rate. Look, everything about our business is 100% learnable. You can learn it. I don't care if you're the newest person in here, this is your first meeting you've ever been to. Look, you can learn how to do this business. You got to develop your people skills. Look, if people don't like you and trust you, they're not going to follow you. They're not going to do business with you. They're not going to want to be engaged with you. You've got to develop great people skills. You need to prospect like crazy. Look, everywhere. One of the things I did when I was building my business is I prospected everywhere I went. I talked to everybody I could possibly talk to. If I got in front of somebody, I made an effort to get to know them and talk to them about what I was doing. You need to prospect every day. You need to make sure that that's something that you make time for in your schedule every day. Because people aren't going to come to your office. They're not going to come to your house. You're going to have to go find them. They're out there. Every one of you got prospected, right? That's why this room has as many people as has in it. That's why people are doing so well, because they're prospectors. You need to decide that you're going to be a total, legitimately strong prospector. And that's just opening your mouth and talking to people, getting people to know. You got to learn your stuff so that you can not just prospect, but know what the heck you're talking about and move people to want to get involved with you. You got to master appointment setting. Look, everything starts with an appointment. You can't recruit people, you can't close business without an appointment. You got to get really great at setting appointments. There's audios on that. I have stuff on my website at hectorlamarque.com, or there's stuff in Primerica online, I'm sure. But you got to get great at appointment setting and prospecting, and you got to get great at presenting. One of the things that I did when I was first starting in the business is I would audio tape me, and I'd have a mirror in front of me, and I would do my presentation to myself, and then I would listen to it after I did it, and in the beginning when I started to do that, right, I sounded terrible. I wouldn't buy from me. I wouldn't get an appointment with me at that point, but I kept on working on it and working on how to set appointments and how to talk to people. And eventually I started getting better, and I started getting more and more confident, and then things started to take off. You got to get great at overcoming objections. Oh, I'm not much of a salesperson. I don't know if I want to work evenings or whatever, right? I don't buy on the first visit. I mean, there's all these different objections. There's probably about 7, 8, 9, 10 really common objections that come up in the business, and you've got to learn how to overcome those objections. I have an audio called Overcoming Objections, and what I would recommend you do is get a copy of that and listen it to like 100 times until it becomes reflexive, so that you don't have, somebody says, I want to think about it, you know exactly what to say. So if somebody tells me I want to think about it, then I say, what exactly you want to think? What don't you want to think about? You don't want to think about getting debt-free? You don't want to think about getting financially independent? You don't want to think about changing your life? Which part of that do you not want to think about? Right? So you have to learn how to do that. You can do that. You can learn the verbiage so that you get more appointments and you close more people. You got to know product knowledge. You got to know the products. You got to know the products backwards, forwards, sideways, and understand them so that you can sell the features and benefits, so that people want to buy from you. They see the advantage to doing business with you, to following your advice. You got to get great at field training. You got to get great at field training because, see, look, if you can't field train and develop people, if your closing skills aren't there, your presentation skills aren't there, it's going to be very hard for you to retain anybody. The better you are at training people, the greater number of people, percentage of people are going to stay in the business because they're going to learn how to do this correctly. They're going to learn how to make money. And the only reason people, or the primary reason, which is about 99.9% of the time people leave, is they don't make any money. That's why people leave. If you're making money, you're not going to leave, right? If all of a sudden you're making, like for me, when my first year I was part-time, I was making, $1,500, $2,000 a month part-time. So sometimes I started seeing that. Then I started seeing what was possible. There's no way I'm going to leave Primerica because and I was doing that part-time, 2 days a week. So it's important that you get to that point, right? Why do all this? Because there's a dream life waiting for you. That's why. There's a dream life waiting for you. There really is, folks. I have a home in Las Vegas. I have a home in Newport Beach with an ocean view and a golf course view. I have a home in Cabo. I just finished building it in November. It's amazing. The view I have, the house is just gorgeous. It's professionally decorated. It's just absolutely spectacular. And so I live in 3 vacation spots: Las Vegas, Newport Beach, and Cabo San Lucas. And so that's what you have the potential to create here in this business, where you could have a life that just very few people are ever able to experience. But the key, what's it going to take? It's going to take personal development. You're going to have to get a lot better than you are right now. If things aren't going well, it's a skill problem. It's a knowledge problem. That's what it is. Those are fixable. I don't care who you are. You can grow your skills and grow your knowledge and become proficient and really start becoming someone that attracts people into their life. Right? The reason you got to get better because you got to be able to attract people. This is an attraction business. People want to be around people who are successful, that are winning, that are growing, that are changing their lives and changing other people's lives. People want that. People want to be part of something like that. For me, the number one reason for the success I've had is my total commitment to personal development. Folks, I've read over 1,500 books on personal development, whether it's people skills or sales skills or leadership skills or time management skills. I have invested thousands of hours in me. I've spent probably spent $200,000 in my life on personal development, seminars, all kinds of stuff. I wanted to get to the point where I was a magnet, that people wanted to be around me. They knew that there was tremendous value being around me and spending time with me and being involved in business with me or doing business with me. You got to learn how to close. Look, your ability to close is the number one thing that will allow you and your teammates to stay in Primerica. You've got to get people to say, yes, I want to join your business, or yes, I want to do business with. Your ability to get people to say yes, which is closing. That's what that's all it is. You've got to get great at that. It makes the business easy. The other reason it's so important to get great at closing, because when you're field training, right, my closing ratio when I was in the right market was probably 80+%. So if I was taking a new person out in the field, and I would make sure they took me to the right people too. I wouldn't not just young single people, but people in the right market, married, children, homeowners, good jobs, that sort of thing. My closing ratio was really high. So if I took somebody on 10, if they took me on 10 appointments, I'd probably close at least 8 out of the 10. What that did is showed them that the business works. Because what people don't want to know is, does this really work? Is this legitimate, what you guys are doing? But when they see it happening, they see you closing, they see you getting people involved in the business and becoming clients, then they want to stay. They can see the value in staying engaged with you and staying connected to you. But when they're not seeing closing happening, they're gone. they're just going to leave. They're going to think, well, why should I be here? I'm not making any money. Nobody's making any money. My trainer's not closing anybody. This doesn't work. But if you're closing, then people have the opposite point of view. You need to focus. Look, if you can't focus, one of the saddest things I see in Primerica, in my hierarchy too, is that people can't stay focused. They get off on tangents. They start looking at other things, or they start doing other things, or whatever. They get tired or whatever. They just can't stay focused. And I think the thing that allowed me to build what I've built and allows me to continue to have success in my business life is I know how to focus. I got Gary Cornigo right in front of me right here. That guy, he knows how to focus. Because, Gary, you've been in almost as long as me, right? This guy is a focused dude, right? That is success that Gary and Pat are enjoying right now. That's not an accident. That's a focus from the top. That doesn't happen by accident. You've got to learn how to focus like a laser beam. What will happen when you start focusing your energy, number one, on getting better at the business, number two, at doing the business and growing the business and growing people, you're going to start seeing amazing things begin to happen in your life. The common reason most people aren't able to build a big base or hierarchy is just simply the inability to stay focused. You need to learn how to focus, folks. You also need to be accountable to somebody, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your upline or somebody, but you need to get accountable. What happens that I've seen over the years is that I've had a lot of people be accountable to me for a period of time. But as soon as it gets uncomfortable for them, they stop being accountable. And then they stop doing what they should be doing. You need to get accountable. Maybe it's your spouse. I don't know. Maybe it's somebody else. I don't know. But you should have some form of accountability about your behavior and what you're doing. If you knew you had let's say if you're direct to me and you knew you had to call me every day with a report of what you're doing, and I held you that accountable, I guarantee you most of you would do a lot more than you're currently doing. And if you're a leader, you need to learn how to hold people accountable. Check on them. Like what I used to do, I'd call people, I'd say, hey Chris, it's Chris Howard, he's right here. I say, hey Chris, where you at? Do you remember, right? When I'd call Chris, the first thing I would ask him is, where are you at? And you know what that means? It means how much premium you have, how many recruits you have, what's your income at, what's your securities volume at. I want to know, where are you at? And he knew he was getting that call every day. So because he didn't want to say, nothing happened today. He would do what he needed to do. He'd be uncomfortable. It's okay to be uncomfortable. Everybody's uncomfortable in the beginning. I was uncomfortable, right? My accountability was my wife, Jan. Right? She's the accountability queen, by the way. She was, did you close? I'd walk in the door after an appointment. Did you close? That's the first thing I heard. Did you close? And then if she heard me saying, well, not tonight, but we're going to go back, she goes, oh, my God. You got to get accountable. I did something really simple, and I think if you just did this, I focused on getting 3 direct recruits a month and 5 or more for people I was field training. That was my goal every month, to at least get 3 myself and to get another 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 for people I was field training. That was my goal. That's what I was accountable to. And then again, like I said, I'll say this one more time. I focus on married homeowners with good jobs who lived in the area 2 years or more and had children. Look, recruiting is no different than closing a sale. I made sure I let and explain exactly what we do to make people's lives better financially. The better people understood the fantastic job we do for families, the more likely it is to recruit those people. I really went out of my way to explain the kind of difference we make for families. I show them examples of F&As that I did for people and how we changed this person's life, that person, to get them to see what we do is really fantastic. And I think that's one of the biggest things. Most people, they're afraid, okay? They're afraid of sales. They're afraid of talking to their friends. They're afraid of everything. But if they could feel like what they were presenting and what they were offering was potentially could change the people that they care about's lives in a really dramatic way and make their lives enhanced in a significant way, then they're much more likely to set those appointments and put you in front of people. When you recruit somebody and they don't want to put you in front of the people they care about, what it means is you haven't closed them yet. You haven't closed them. They don't really believe what you're sharing is what it is. And you got to get really, really good at closing your recruits so that they feel comfortable about taking you to see people. I'm going to get a drink of water in my mouth. Thank you. Another thing is, you know what my experience with most people is? They're mentally weak. That's been my experience my whole business career. Most people are mentally weak. I hope you're not, but that's been my experience. Look, in building and learning anything new and building a business, you're definitely going to have challenges. Things are not going to go smoothly all the time. If you're not mentally tough, there's no way you're going to become a regional vice president and build a great business, and that is true in any business you would get involved in. If you're going to build something, whether it's here or somewhere else, you're going to have to be mentally tough because people don't just come to your house and drop $100 bills off at your pad. Okay? It's never going to happen. The key to this is to be crystal clear, have a crystal clear reason for why you're doing the business, because it's not always going to go smoothly. You must know how you're going to react to the challenges in advance of them happening. So you have to know if somebody, like if you walk up, some of you might have, I've had this happen to me where I have an appointment, goes to somebody's house, and the house is dark, right? There's nobody there, right? Have you ever had that? If you haven't, you're not really working the business. I've had that happen. Or I've had people say, oh, I'll definitely be at the meeting tonight, and I invite 5 people and not one of them shows up. You ever have that? I've had that happen, right? That stuff happens. And if you're weak mentally, that's going to drive you right out of the business. I shouldn't say this, but you got to grow a pair, okay? So when I had a challenge closing or recruiting or anything, the question I always asked myself was, what skill do I have to develop so this doesn't happen again? What do I need to learn, and how do I need to get better so I don't experience this again? That's the question. Instead of saying, oh, those people are stupid or whatever, ask yourself what you need to do so that this doesn't continue. Look, it's never the challenges that derail you. It's your reaction to them that does. It's never the problem. It's how you react to those things. Everybody has them. Look, folks, I've had hundreds of thousands of people quit on me in my business. Hundreds of thousands over the last, I've been at this, I'm getting close to 40 years in Primerica. I think I'm almost 39 years I've been doing this. Longer than a lot of you, that probably most of you have even been alive, okay? I've had so many people quit, it just make your head spin. But I didn't have everybody quit, right? I've made almost $100 million here. So some people stayed, okay? It's never the challenges that derail, it's your reaction to them. You got to master the products too, folks. You got to know the products. You can't sell what you don't understand. You can't sell what you don't know how to explain. You can't do it. You've got to learn how everything works. Before I started doing Primerica, this was 1983 when I got my license. I didn't write my first sale till January of 1984. So I think I got my license, or got passed the test like in May of 83, and I wrote my first transaction in January of 84. So it didn't happen overnight, okay? And I think that what happens is that we get, we get distraught about things that are so inconsequential, and you can't do that. So you got to master the products, okay? You must know all the features and benefits inside and out so you can inspire people to want to own them because they see how they will affect their financial lives in a positive way. And then finally, it's leadership. My leadership style has always been focused on me doing first what I wanted everybody else to do. I always made sure, I felt guilty not doing what I was asking other people to do. I always felt guilty about that. So I wanted to be the top recruiter, the top salesperson, the top everything. And I worked harder on me than anything else because I wanted to make sure people saw an example. I wanted to be the perfect example. Are you the perfect example? So when people look at you, your teammates look at you, are they looking at you and saying, wow, I want to be just like them? I want to just be just like them. Are they saying that? Well, your example's everything, folks. It's the same thing with children. If you have children, right, you want to be the perfect example to your children. That was my goal. I wanted to do all the things in my life so that my kids would want to emulate what I did. They wanted to follow my lead. They wanted to be like me, right? I wanted that. And so I totally busted my rear end to make sure that I became successful, and I did the hard work, and I grew myself and all that because I wanted my kids to see what that looked like live and in person. They didn't have to go follow a famous, athlete or a movie star or, God forbid, a rock star, okay? They could look at me and see what I've done. And as a result, both my kids are highly, highly successful. My daughter, Janae, is a director and a screenwriter. She's very successful, done really, really well. And then my son, Dak, he owns his own hedge fund. He's making me a lot of money right now, which is really good. I trained him really well. So that's... So leadership's everything, folks. Are you a leader? Do people want to be like you, right? I don't know. Are you doing all the things that would make people want to emulate you? Well, I don't know. That's a question you have to answer yourself. But, folks, if you're going to build something big here, you're going to have to become that kind of a leader, that kind of a person. So I focused on being the best closer, the best recruiter, the best builder. I focused on getting super wide. I built a big base shop. First, I promoted big base shop first generation RVPs. I made big money first. I had big attendance at my meetings first. I put on great meetings first, and then I taught how to do all those things. That's what I did. That's what you're going to need to do. Folks, let me just tell you a little bit about how am I doing on time? I don't even know. Yeah? Okay, 8 minutes. So my life has turned into kind of a fairy tale. It really has. You don't see me much. My wife has had some health issues over the years, and the reason I don't go to functions anymore, the reason that I'm not at meetings and doing all that and traveling all over the world like I used to do, is because I don't want to miss a day not being with her, not being around her. I don't want to miss a day. I don't want to miss one. I don't have any debt. I don't have any debt. I have 3 beautiful homes, and they're all paid for. I paid cash for everything. I don't have any debt at all, right? And so that allows me to have an enormous amount of freedom in my life to do what I want, when I want, where I want, with whom I want, and the style I want. Isn't that what you all want? Yeah. Well, you have a tool. This Primerica thing is the tool that's going to allow you to do that. But you got to get after it. You got to get more focused. You got to get more intense. You got to stay after it longer. You have to follow up. You got to do all the things that you want your people to do. You got to be the perfect example. That's what you've got to become. If you want to build something great, you've got to become the perfect example. Life is short, goes by fast, folks. I'm 66 years old now. When I joined Primerica, folks, I was 26 years old. Well, that is 40 years, isn't it? That went by like that. My daughter's 43, my son's 44. It's going to be 45 in October. That went like that. I have 4 grandkids. My daughter has 2 girls. One is just about to turn 10, and the other one's 15 years old. That went like that. My son has 2 boys. One's 8 and one's 12, and that went like that. And you know what? Your life's going to go like that too. The key is, what are you going to do so that you can afford to take care of your family like you want? This next month, I'm taking my family to Bali. Man, it is so awesome. I can't wait to go. It's so we're basically going to spend 3 weeks there, and it's no skin off my back financially. It's a piece of cake, right? And then when we fly there, we fly first class. We're not going. There's no coach for La Marques, okay? We don't do that anymore. The coach thing, we're over with that, okay? And then we've been to 7. There's 7 continents, right? So we've been to 6. I've been to 70 countries over the last 30 years or so, all over the world. We've taken 4 around the world in private jet flights, where you go for 25 days and you go, to spend 2 or 3 days at each place all over the world. We've been all over the world, and the only place we haven't been is Antarctica. So we just set up a 2.5-week trip to Antarctica. So that's going to be in January. It's January. And we're big time foodies. I don't know if do you guys like food? Anybody like food in here? Okay. Folks, I spend so much money on food you can't even believe it, okay? It's embarrassing how much money we spend on food. But it's so good. It's so good. Look, let me say, well, my mom could cook or my wife could cook as good as these fine restaurants. No, they can't. No way on earth they can do what these people do in these places. I promise you, not a chance. There's so many amazing experiences awaiting you guys if you ever get busy and do what you're supposed to do. Right? Just tons of freedom to do what you want. I just want you to imagine getting up every day, and that day is dedicated to exactly what you want, and have it be that way basically almost every day of every month of every year. That's what I'm talking about. You go shopping, everything's about the price tag right now for a lot of you. How about you get to the point where that's not an issue anymore? Or you go to a great restaurant and you order from the right to the left, right? First the price, then to wonder if you could do that. Well, how about ending that in your life for you and your family? How about doing that? How about doing that? How about being able to take care of your family, really take care of your family? I put my kids through private school, and my daughter went to Stanford University. When she graduated, she didn't have any debt. My son went to Wharton Business School, maybe one of the top 1 or 2 business schools in the country, in the world. He had no debt when he finished. When they got started on their life, I was able to help them buy homes. They were going to get it someday, any day, anyway. So I helped them buy their homes, and that's what you have waiting for you. But you got to make a decision. You got to decide. This weekend is about deciding your future, the fate of your family, the fate of everybody you love. That's what this weekend's about. These last couple of days is to let you know you have at your disposal an opportunity that can radically change your lives. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take huge effort on your part, right? Lots of people are going to quit, but lots of people are going to stay. It's okay. Don't worry about what everybody else does. Just worry about what you're doing. What everybody else does has nothing to do with you. I hope you make a decision today that you get with whoever you care about, and you make a plan and you make a decision that you're going to be the ones that change your family's life forever. Love you. Thank you so much.